At just 17 years old, he made a decision that shocked everyone. Not because it was safe, but because it made absolutely no sense. He rejected one of the biggest clubs in the world. More money, more fame, more security. He said no to all of it and chose a path that could have ended his career before it even began. People didn't understand. Some called it arrogance. Others called it a mistake. But what happened next? No one expected. Before the spotlight, before the headlines, before the world started calling him a generational talent, Jude Bellingham was just a kid from England. No hype machine, no superstar label, just raw talent and something deeper, something different. Because even at a young age, he didn't think like other players. While others chased attention, he chased growth. While others followed the safe path, he questioned everything, and that mindset would change everything. At Birmingham City, he wasn't supposed to be special, just another academy player, just another name trying to make it. But from the moment he stepped on the pitch, something felt different. He wasn't just playing football, he was controlling it. At 16, while most players are still learning basics, he was dominating grown men, reading the game, dictating tempo, making decisions that didn't match his age. It was almost unnatural. Then it happened. At 16 years and 38 days, he made his professional debut, the youngest player in the club's history. But that wasn't the shocking part. The shocking part was how comfortable he looked. No fear, no hesitation, no pressure. Just confidence. Like he belonged there. Like he had always been there. That's when the world started noticing. Big clubs started watching. Scouts started calling. And then came the offer that changes everything for most players. Manchester United, one of the biggest clubs in the world. Legends had played there. Careers were made there. Dreams were built there. For most players, this is the moment you say yes without thinking. But he didn't. He said no. A 17-year-old kid turning down Manchester United. It didn't make sense. People were confused. Why would anyone do that? Why reject fame, money, and opportunity? Because he saw something others didn't. He wasn't thinking about today. He was thinking about who he wanted to become, and he knew the wrong environment could destroy everything. So instead, he chose Borussia Dortmund, a club known for developing young talent, a place where growth comes before ego. Still risky, still uncertain, still dangerous, because in football, there are no guarantees. When he arrived in Germany, everything changed. New country, new language, new system, new expectations. The comfort was gone. This was the real test. Not talent, not potential, but adaptability. Because many players fail here, they struggle, they disappear, they fade away. And for a moment, it looked like this could be one of those stories. But then something shifted. Instead of being overwhelmed, he embraced it. He learned faster, adapted quicker, worked harder. Slowly, he didn't just fit in, he stood out. Game by game, performance by performance, he started becoming the player everyone feared. Strong, intelligent, composed. But what made him different wasn't just his ability, it was his mentality. He didn't play like a young player, he played like a leader. And then came the moment that changed everything. Champions League nights, the biggest stage, the brightest lights, the kind of pressure that breaks players. This is where talent gets exposed. This is where reality hits. But instead of shrinking, he rose. He dominated games against players twice his experience. Controlled matches like a veteran. Made decisions under pressure like it was nothing. And suddenly the narrative changed. He was no longer a young talent. He was something else, something rare, something dangerous. Clubs weren't just interested anymore. They were desperate. Because players like this don't come often. Players who combine physical strength, intelligence, composure, and leadership at such a young age almost never exist. And that's when the next chapter began. Real Madrid, the biggest club in football history, the ultimate stage, the place where legends are made or destroyed. This wasn't just a transfer. This was pressure at the highest level. Expectations that crush careers. Fans that demand perfection. A spotlight that never turns off. And yet, he walked into it like he owned it. No fear, no hesitation, no doubt. From his first game, something was clear. He wasn't here to adapt. He was here to dominate. Goals started coming. Big goals. Important goals. Moments that define players, and suddenly a midfielder was becoming the most important player on the pitch. Not because he was told to be, but because he made himself impossible to ignore. But here's the part nobody talks about. Success at this level comes with a cost. Pressure doesn't disappear, it multiplies. Every game becomes a test, every performance gets judged, every mistake gets magnified, and the higher you go, the harder it becomes to stay there. That's where most players fall, not because they lack talent, but because they can't handle the weight. So the real question was never about his talent, it was about his mindset. What happens when the goals stop? What happens when the form drops? What happens when the world starts doubting again? Because it always happens. No player escapes it, not even the greatest. And that's the moment that defines everything. But he didn't break. He didn't panic. He didn't change. He stayed the same. Focused, calm, relentless. Because he understood something most players don't. Football isn't just about talent, it's about control. Control over emotions, control over pressure, control over expectations. And that's what made him different. That's what made him dangerous. Because while others react, he responds. While others panic, he adapts. While others fall, he rises. And that's when people started realizing something. This wasn't normal. This wasn't just talent. This was something else, something bigger. Because at an age where most players are still finding themselves, he had already become the player others look up to. A leader without trying, a star without forcing it, a presence that changes games without explanation. And maybe that's the real story. Not that he proved people wrong, but that he saw something others didn't. When everyone chose the safe path, he chose growth. When everyone chased comfort, he chased challenge. When everyone followed the system, he broke it. And in doing so, he didn't just become a great player. He became something far more dangerous. He became inevitable.